Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. I have one question. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. Let's take a listen to this, and I can promise you, I will react.
Well, I mean, look, I think I've got several opinions of this. Number one, we talked remember about a year or so ago, that story came out that Ray Fisher was actually quite upset by the fact that apparently a number of his scenes got cut out of what ended up being the theatrical version of the film. To the point that he said he doesn't think he'll ever be he didn't say he vowed to never be in DCU again, but he didn't think that his stuff was ever going to happen again. And he was quite upset about blah, blah, blah. I think this is just him lashing out. Look, I've said this before about, you guys know, I've said this before about some of my favorite actors and some of my favorite filmmakers, and I think this applies to Ray Fisher as well. I think it's really Bush League and cheap and garbage and disrespectful, and basically, I'm not going to pull punches, loserish. To get on Twitter, look, if you've got an issue with somebody that you know or that you've worked with or whatever, you go talk to that person. I think taking that on Twitter is something 14-year-old high school girls do about, Jonesy was hitting on my boyfriend. I mean, that's I think for the purview of like 13-year-old prepubescent little boys who can't handle the changing in their emotions because of the hair growing around their nutsack. I don't know. I've said that about a lot of people that I really respect a lot, and I think it's true. I think it is Bush League and babyish to use Twitter as a platform for airing of the grievances, right? If you're an adult and you've got an issue with somebody because they cut you out of a film or whatever the issue is, then you talk to that person one-on-one. Taking it onto Twitter, I believe, is a sign of a very weak-minded individual. And I think we've all been guilty of it probably to some degree or another. But I think that's a sign of one of in a moment of weakness. I think it's very disappointing that he would do that. I know he was butthurt over the fact that...
John Campea, you are an absolute disgrace. Do you know why he took it onto Twitter? Because he doesn't want it buried. You don't know what those actors and that crew went through. You've never worked on a set. You've not been an actor. You've never been someone who's a grip or a runner. And you don't know what these guys and girls go through. Ray Fisher is a genuinely honest lad. He's not doing this because his scenes are cut. You know why? Because his scenes are going to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So what would he have to possibly gain? He's not just talking about himself. He's talking about this guy being abusive and unprofessional to everyone who worked on that set. I have been on sets, and it can be very difficult and very ugly. Do you remember Clayne Crawford and what happened on Lethal Weapon? These things happen all the time. Was Clayne Crawford unprofessional because he went onto YouTube and aired what really happened on that Lethal Weapon set after they fired him? No! He had to even up the score. He had to tell his side because people were treating him like a bum. And he was the victim. And here, Ray Fisher and the cast and crew of Justice League were the victims here. And you're saying he should go directly and talk to Joss Whedon about this? Do you think he didn't talk to Joss Whedon about this while the filming was going on, right? You haven't covered anything, John. What about the mocking of Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League? What about the allegations that Gal Gadot was locked in a room because she wouldn't allow that scene where she falls on top of Ezra Miller? How about that? Did you do another video about Ezra Miller the other week and said the guy from The Flash who has historical racist tweets is unlucky, and Ezra should have been sacked over an April Fool's joke? You are unconnected, you know nothing, and you talk before you do any research or any knowledge, right? You talk about an itchy ballsack. What are you talking about? This is not a young man who's being vindictive, is acting like a schoolboy. Something very terrible happened on this set. Very terrible. Hollywood talk about Me Too and equality and Black Lives Matter. This is a perfect opportunity for something to be done. But you are a very corrupt man, John. Joss Whedon's probably your friend, right? I assume. And you're trying to cover up for him. You're trying to save his bacon. No, John. What you've just said holds no foundation. You've already been driven off Twitter because of who you are. Because you are toxic, John. You're a good presenter. You're good at what you do. I like watching and listening to you. But at the end of the day, John, what you're saying is ridiculous. You're suggesting he had no right to go onto Twitter and talk about this and air this because this has to be aired. You know why he aired it? You know why it has to be aired? Because one day he's going to direct another high-profile project and he's going to do the same thing to other people, right? You clearly are calling him a liar. You're clearly saying he only said this because his scenes were cut of Justice League, right? I'm sorry, John, but you are an absolute disgrace. You are a problem. People like you who have a big following need to be taken to task. YouTube and Hollywood itself needs to regulate exclusive YouTubers, high-profile YouTubers who have a connection into Hollywood, who get financial, let's just say, sweetheart deals to make sure they protect the big, high-profile people. It was all right when it was Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey. We all gave them a kick, didn't we? Quite rightly so, if what they were accused of was true. But what did Zack Snyder ever do? And you lot kept on kicking him and kicking him. I didn't see you outraged when Zack Snyder was being vilified for being a filmmaker and making his own type of film. No. But when it's your little friends, John, you're coming to bat for them. You are an absolute disgrace. You are blatantly calling Ray Fisher a liar, and it's absolutely disappointing. What do you think about all of this, boys and girls? Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more DC Daily. See you again soon.